made him angry, asking if Tian thinks he's stronger than him. But then he turned insane, asking if Tian didn't want to try his luck in a fight, and all because when you're targeted by someone like him, there's no way to escape. The only way out is to become so strong that he won't dare to challenge you. After 3 days, he arrived home getting a hug from his sister who missed him. She asked why he took so long, but he just said he brought her some little gifts. She looked at everything and went straight to the money, saying it's a lot. It's even enough for Tian to get married if he wants. But actually, that's for her to use for enrollment and living costs. She then asked about the vial. He also didn't know. It was that liquid dripping from the ceiling. So he brought this treasure picture book. Taking a look, he thought it's earth core elixir, an essence formed from stones after absorbing primordial chi for thousands of years, and it can enhance talents, meaning that Beast before used this to become a powerful monster. The sister said it could help him get strong, but now Tian doesn't need it, and instead of him drinking, she will drink to get strong, which left her astonished at this idea. Then she asked if it wouldn't be a waste, but Tian thought her talent is second class, but if she drinks it, it will improve. We just don't know how much. She tried to say he should sell it, that would bring more money, but he said when the buyer asks about the earth stones he could only say there are none left. The problem is the guy won't believe, which would make him go after Tian, so if she doesn't drink it would be an even bigger pity. So he held her and made her drink all the essence. She said it tasted cool while various particles rose, but looking at the status nothing happened to her. After that, she went to sleep, but after an hour Tian noticed a huge wave of talent coming from his sister, and that's because she awakened her cultivation talent to the medium tier, and combining it with the ice talent she will become a high-level warrior in the future. Now, he took the blood of the beasts and looked sinister because Qiao Bei could come after him. In his room, he took the first vial of beast blood and already ate something along with it to improve the bad taste of it. When he started cultivating, it seemed like he improved over 8 times, and going on like this, if he had enough blood, he would be able to reach the level of a warrior within a month. The problem is there are only 2 claws left. So, 10 days later, at the 5th academy, he was cultivating to increase his strength, while Zhang ran calling for him, talking about Qiao Bei. Tian asked if he's here for a duel, but it wasn't that, he's on leave to pursue the level of a warrior, and because of that, he sat back thinking it will take at least a month for Qiao Bei to reach the level of a warrior. Zhang continued saying he will become a warrior to come after him because he's a disciple with a lot of resources and bottles of blood to get strong, and because of that, he knelt saying he will take care of things when Tian leaves, but he was calm because with his evolution he will be able to face a warrior in a month. After a while, it showed the Mo family. A big explosion happened as the assistant congratulated the young master because he reached the level of a warrior and was very powerful. The women dressed him up, while his father appeared congratulating him because he finally became a warrior. And this is Mon, the foundation of the Mo family's wealth, one of the 10 elders of the association, and that's why Qiao Bei confidently said he will never embarrass the Mo family, and that's why even the family elder said to reward him personally. He knelt down saying all this is thanks to him and the help of the elders, but before leaving, his father told him to eat later because he prepared the food he likes. Then, he asked his assistant if he investigated the thing he asked before entering, so he said that Brat has no parents or family to count on, so they can beat him without mercy, and that's why he ordered to find someone to send Tian to the grave. The assistant said the Mo family cannot get involved even if it's powerful, but actually, it was to find a shadow killer unconnected to the family. He even asked if it was worth all this for a poor boy because all this would cost at least $1 million, but Qiao Bei said only a few families can prosper while others remain below, and that's because when they discover a genius among the poor, they get rid of him before he becomes a problem, and that's why the 5th academy exists, not to cultivate talents, but to conquer the weak. Then, it showed the talent thief flying through the sky cutting stones in his training at the academy, and as the weather was bad, he went straight home. But at one point, he stopped and, atop a pole, he saw a status window, with the name Lion, inferior cultivation talent, novice shadow talent. Then, the window closes, and a shadow swiftly approaches Tian, who manages to see it and defend himself. Tian asks who the fellow is, and he says he came to kill him. Tian thinks he's an assassin hired by Mo, but doesn't understand why, since now he's a martial warrior and could easily confront him in person. So he didn't understand why he did that. Tian faces the man, but he possesses shadow talent, which makes him invisible. The man reappears behind Tian, but he quickly dodges. The man is surprised and says how can an apprentice be so fast? Tian says now it's his turn to attack, but the man becomes invisible again. He said that would be a challenge for any ordinary person, but not for him. He attacks the assassin in the air with his sword. The man is impressed and says not even an elite martial warrior would be able to see through his talent. He asks Tian how he did it, and he responds that if he wants to know, he must first say who sent him. The man grabs his dagger and says he'll kill him first, but Tian manages to dodge quickly and pierce him with his sword. The dying man says he's truly impressed, as he had never faced someone so powerful, and reveals that it was the Mo family who sent him. Tian approaches, copies the man's shadow talent while uttering Mo's name. A shadow aura surrounds him, and he feels stronger. After copying the talent, we see Tian burying the man amidst an electrical storm, saying that a human shouldn't fall like a leaf, be it by wind or rain. He swears to live as a human while he's alive, be it like the wind and rain, and not just a simple fallen leaf. After that, Tian takes a bath, changes clothes, and sits in the room while observing Li Chun's things. He observes a sword that seems to be from the Yen dynasty and some cards with a balance of 3.5 million, laughing at Qiao Bei, the money he used to try to kill him. Now Tian will use it for his own expenses, keeping it in his wallet. He goes to his room at night while there's an electrical storm outside, but at this moment he realizes that his sister hasn't come home yet. Tian immediately leaves the house because Qiao Bei knows everything about him, so it's possible he also wants to kill his sister. He manages to reach the school where his sister studies, but he thinks that in this normal school no one would be able to kill someone with talent. Suddenly, someone tells Tian not to move. He prepares for combat, but it's his sister who finds him. Tian complained about the delay, but his sister says she was on duty today, having to clean the room. She asks why he didn't bring an umbrella and isn't wearing shoes. Tian responds that he forgot because of the rush he was in. His sister asks how he did that cool move while they were walking down the street. But in a black car, Qiao Bei watches them, wondering if Tian is still alive as they head home. Tian buys a sausage for his sister while they decide what to do. At that moment, Tian realizes they're being followed. Arriving home, his sister asks him to set the table, which is already prepared, but Tian looks out the window and sees a black car outside, watching. The next day, while his sister is in class, Tian is vigilant and notices that the black car has been following them for 3 days. He thinks there are indeed intentions to harm his sister. However, the car drives away. Tian decides to follow it. Quickly, the car stops at a building under construction, and Tian can sense that Qiao Bei is here. Inside the building, they are beating a man while he watches from afar. That man says he doesn't have the money he owes and asks to be released. Qiao Bei says if he doesn't pay today, his debt will double tomorrow. After all, it's not easy to borrow from Qiao Bei. That man says the interest rates he imposes are too high and he has children and elderly parents to care for. At that moment, his bodyguard arrives and asks if there's any news about the shadow assassin. Tian can see and hear everything, as he's invisible. The bodyguard says he will communicate again with the assassin. Tian confirms that the assassin was sent by Qiao Bei. He himself becomes furious and says people might think that money received by descendants of rich families like him is easy to be fooled. After that, he kicks that man to death. He asks the bodyguard if he has found someone to take care of Tian's sister. He replies that they were thinking of a friend who just got out of prison, but it seems that leaving other people in charge of things goes wrong. So, he says he will do it himself. Qiao Bei smiles and punches his bodyguard, saying it's his punishment for not doing the job properly. At that moment, Tian summons his primordial weapon and descends from the ceiling, leaping over Qiao Bei, cutting his body in one strike. He falls to the ground as his bodyguards watch their dead master. One of them realizes he's using the ability to conceal his body and asks if he's the shadow assassin, but soon realizes that's not the case. Tian reveals himself as the talent thief, the future most powerful of all. The bodyguard asks how he can do this, because according to their investigations, he's a failure with little talent, but Tian just takes a deep breath and jumps on him right away. This way, the bodyguard shouts that he can't be attacked as he's being cut by the talent thief from top to bottom, because he's getting stronger than before. Then, he cleans the sword with a cloth from his pocket and sheathes his swords. He puts on the hood and declares he's not an easy prey, and they should blame themselves for choosing the wrong person to torment. An hour later, several cars arrive at the scene. Mo's father, with clenched fists, asks who killed his son. A servant says they found something at the scene. Apparently, he killed Qiao Bei. It's a shadow assassin. The father wonders who had the courage to hire a shadow assassin. As he observes the cloth Tian left earlier, a man approaches, speaking to Mo's father, a great martial warrior of the Mo family. Mo's father refers to him as the Great Elder and says his son was murdered. The Great Elder realizes he could rise. Recently, his son had risen in rank and he had faith that he would become a great martial warrior, perhaps capable of leading the family to the top. The Great Elder says he was the only hope for the younger generation of the Mo family, and if a second great martial warrior emerged, his position and influence would increase dramatically. Mo's father, amidst tears, says his son's death cannot be in vain and asks the Great Elder to avenge his death, handing him the blood-stained cloth. The Great Elder acknowledges it's a shadow assassin and considers that other families might hold resentments against him. They step outside and expose the message. In it, a symbol is visible. The Great Elder can only say Iron Tooth. Returning to Tian, his friend comments that Iron Tooth is a much larger base than Linhai. The family's Great Elder suspects that families at the Linhai base are secretly allied with the Iron Tooth base. Apparently, they're planning to kill the elites of the younger generation and then swallow the Lin Hai base. His friend mentions hearing rumors that they were the ones who sent Xiao Bei to the coffin. Tian is glad as apparently no one suspects him. His friend mentions the Mo family. The talent thief wonders if the great elder stumbled upon that iron toothpaste symbol by chance, because in reality, their plans are to provoke a war between the two bases. The next day, at 4 a.m., Tian gets ready. This wakes up his sister, who asks where he's going so early. He says he plans to go to the training zone to increase his strength. His sister says he just came back and wonders if he'll be okay alone. Our talent thief tells her not to worry. However, his sister rushes and hugs him from behind. A moment between siblings, undoubtedly foreshadowing that something is about to happen. After that, Tian leaves and arrives at a place that looks like an oasis in the middle of the desert. He mentions there are high-level monsters in the area, but Tian knows, with the level he has, he'll try to find the lower-level monsters outside. He can't risk provoking the higher-level ones. This time is his opportunity to become a martial warrior. However, suddenly, he feels a tremor in the earth. A monster appears. The status window opens. Fierce beast, iron cow, bloodline rank, weak level, low-level defense talent. Tian doesn't hesitate. This monster might be easy to kill, but it sees him and approaches to confront him. Tian prepares, drops his backpack, and goes for the monster. He summons his blades and strikes the monster, but it activates an energy field that blocks his attack. Then, it emits a roar that throws Tian against the rocks. He realizes he's encountered a good talent and it's time to obtain it. After several attacks, our talent thief finally finds the monster's weak point, which is its tail. He attacks with all his might and finally manages to annihilate it. After that, we see Tian extracting the monster's blood and gathering several bottles. Tian comments that no matter how strong the talent is, it's useless when you're dead. He then decides to take the monster's eyes and testicles, but most importantly, its horns. He cuts them off and sets off to find a quieter place to continue cultivating. Later, we see he's in a large cave, placing the items on the ground, the monster's blood and peanuts. Tian comments that he'll trust these items to help him on his way to the martial warrior realm. He then starts drinking blood and eating peanuts. 20 days later, we see how Tian's hair has grown, and a powerful force is perceived in his eyes, releasing an energy sphere that is noticed by two girls. One of them comments that she never imagined someone would be breaking ground in the martial warrior realm in such a barren place. Tian appears stronger, stating that he has now entered the realm of martial warriors. He says that now that 20 days have passed, the cooling off period must have ended. So, he grabs his things and says he will copy the monster's defense talent. Arriving there, he tries to copy it, but the status window indicates that the target is incomplete and cannot be copied. Then he complains because if he had known this, he wouldn't have sliced the monster. One of the girls asks if the guy is the one who managed to kill that monster, since before that Tian was just a martial apprentice. After that, the talent thief prepares to take a bath because in 20 days one starts to stink a lot. The girls watch him and say they'd better leave because he's probably going to undress. While Tian jumps into the water, we see the market of the Lin Hai base, located near the martial pavilion. Tian enters to see the place and, just then, he comes across those girls. They lock eyes and for a second Tian thinks it's Yeyu, but then he sees her better and says it's impossible for his sister to be in that place. He proceeds to observe the talents of that girl. We find out that her name is Yuling, with intermediate cultivation talent, medium-level sword talent, and beginner-level speed talent, meaning this girl is another genius. After that, the blonde-haired girl asks Tian why someone who looks like a beggar called her his sister, but Tian doesn't really understand. He wonders if it's because of the bad smell because that's what she says. Then, Yuling tells her not to talk nonsense, then she approaches apologizing, saying she's sorry. But Tian watches Yuling as if something is catching his attention. Xiao holds his hand, saying that Yuling will be back soon and asks if he came to sell materials because as compensation they will pay double. Tian looked, thinking the items were great as expected from the biggest store in the martial market. At that moment, a lady invites him for tea. He thanks her while she reviews the items Tian has to sell and says they have a value of 200,000 yens. If he doubles the price, he could get 400,000 yens. Tian is surprised at how easy it was to earn a lot of money. Then, the woman hands him 4 cards, each worth 100,000, and she even says they want to reward him. So, if he wants to buy something, he could pay half the price. Smiling, he accepts and looks at the prices in the book thinking they seem a bit expensive. However, he buys a forged body technique book, 3 bottles of blood, and Qing Yuan solution. In total, the woman says it's 700,000 yens. He pays and leaves but thinks it's not a coincidence that they are treating him well because first, they had mistaken him for a garbage sweeper and now they even offer him discounts. What do they want from him? However, as he is about to leave, she says wait a moment, making him alert and asking what happened, but actually, the Martial Pavilion supervisor wants to meet with him. Tian smiles, saying she can show him the way. They arrive at a room where Yuling is having tea. He tells Tian to come in and introduce himself, saying she is the supervisor of the Linhai base branch, Yuling, an elite martial artist. They shake hands to greet each other, and with this contact, the talent thief copies another talent, the intermediate cultivation talent. After introducing himself, Tian sits down as they serve him tea. Tian says that only exclusive people can be in that place, so why is someone like him here without any connection or nobility? Yuling says it's precisely because he's just an ordinary type with no connections to the great families or nobles. The other girl serves tea to Tian while Yu says she'll be direct about why she invited him. She wanted to invite our talent thief to join the Martial Pavilion. At that moment, Tian stares at Yu, who shows a similar expression to his sisters. He gets nervous because no one had ever asked him something like that before. However, he says he doesn't understand. The bases in the grand scale never lack individuals with talent. Why would someone want to ask him to join? Besides, he's just a novice martial artist. Yuling stands up and stretches her arms, explaining that a large base can become a grand scale base not because they lack individuals with talent but because they always need more individuals with talent. Tian thinks she's right, praising the great intelligence he sees in Yuling, something his sister could never say. The blonde girl tells him not to miss this great opportunity because not even elite disciples can meet Milady's standards. Tian thinks about the consequences if he were to join and someone found out about his secret ability. Yuling leans on the table and asks why he continues to hesitate, and if it's not too much trouble, to tell her what the reason for his doubt is. Tian finds Yuling's gaze irresistible, making it really hard to say no, but he remains undecided. However, Tian mentions the rumors of an invasion of the Iron Fang base, when those great families became chaotic and fought among themselves over this matter. Tian says he leads a relatively peaceful life and doesn't want to be like them or serve anyone. Yuling says that in Tian's eyes, she's just like those people. She tries to make a proposal by asking Tian to observe them for a while because she has plenty of patience to wait for an answer. They both lock eyes, and then we see him walking, having an existential monologue. He wonders what it means to be a martial artist or what a talent is when the martial artist acquires such ability. He questions if the martial artist will remember their duty and if they have a duty to protect the safety of citizens. Later, we see some children playing ball and asking one of the guards to pass the ball. He wonders why people, besides fearing the fierce beasts, have to suffer the pressure and intimidation of martial artists. Tian believes that those who become martial artists end up corrupting over time, deviating from their purpose and may even become a menace to society. However, Tian considers that he needs to become stronger. He still has a long way to go, so he opens the status window and begins to merge the intermediate level talent. Now we see Tian, who has returned home telling his sister that he has arrived. She is surprised and rushes to hug him, saying it's only been 20 days since they last saw each other and that he seems to be in better shape now. Tian responds that of course, now he is a martial artist. His sister says she is very happy, and Tian calls her silly, saying to wait until her talent awakens when she will also become a martial artist. He mentions that in the future, she will find a treasure that will help her enhance her talent. We see the status window, and the beginner level ice talent has not yet awakened. Suddenly, his sister grabs scissors and says she will cut his hair. Tian is surprised, and his sister tells him to look at his hair, which looks like that of a beggar, and that after becoming a martial artist, he needs to take good care of himself. His sister grabs him by the shoulder and makes him sit. Tian responds that he is fine and would like to have the same haircut as before. When they were children, it is shown that the girl is cutting her brother's hair, and the boy has a terrible look on his face. Apparently, it's her first time doing it, and after accidentally hurting Tian, she confesses to being afraid to continue. However, her brother says it doesn't have to be a professional cut, just enough to leave the hair short and then treat the wound. The sister laments the situation, wishing the boy had the talent of the immortal jellyfish. This ability has the power to heal wounds almost immediately. Tian tells the girl not to worry, when he awakens he will gain a recovery talent or something like that, so he won't get hurt and he'll be able to take care of her much better. Back to the present, the protagonist remembers this story, especially the part that mentions the immortal jellyfish, that monster would be the solution to his problem. So, in a hurry, the young man searches for the book that had more information about the creature. In the book, several characteristics of the jellyfish are mentioned. It's an aquatic beast with healing talent and is located in the Lake of Death. By the name of the place, it seems to be a very peaceful place, perfect for a family outing. The girl snoops on her brother, seeing the contents of the book. She warns that those stories are made up for foolish children, but the protagonist corrects her, saying that some of them are real. Sometime later, we see Tian with his hair cut and looking very cute. When you guys cut your hair, you look like that too, right guys? As he walks, he wonders how strong a body technique that only martial warriors can practice is. In the book, there were many variations to train, from basic to advanced. Since the talent thief is clever, he soon realizes that he can't start the academy by lifting weights of 1 ton. In that situation it wouldn't be much different. The ideal is to start from the beginning. During his training, the boy realizes something. His absorption rate in the past was very slow, but now that he has a bottle of intermediate beast blood, he will be able to test his full absorption capacity. By drinking the monster juice, his cultivation rate triples. Surprised by the result, he says he will train a little more until the recharge time of his ability ends. When that happens, jellyfish will have their power stolen. There are 30 days left until it's possible to use the talent copy. With a smile on his face, Tian says he will definitely have the healing power of the jellyfish. In the martial pavilion, the protagonist enters all-powerful. A blonde girl welcomes him, and soon recognizes the customer. The most powerful Tian was in her presence. The young woman approaches and says he must be there to look for the miss, but that wasn't the reason for his visit. In fact, his goal is to buy something. Noticing the haircut, clothes, and height of the boy, the girl swoons. What a handsome man. It's guys, what a hack can do in a person's life. If he wants to buy something, it's better to follow along to speed things up. The protagonist asks if the store has the map of the Lake of Death, and it seems they do. Shortly after, Tian already had the map in his hands, imagining the amount of talent he will be able to copy. Then he asks the price of the item. The girl responds that it costs 100,000, as money is not a problem. The protagonist says he'll take it. The blonde begins to worry about how dangerous that area is. Even elite martial warriors have difficulty in that place. She hopes nothing happens to Tian. Already at the Lake of Death, we see the protagonist enjoying the scenery. From the atmosphere, you can sense all kinds of danger. Suddenly a tornado appears. Could it be a beast? Anyway, Tian decides to become invisible for a while. As he climbs a mountain, the protagonist sees strange movement, and suddenly, the girl from the pavilion and an old man leap from the water alongside a giant alligator that sought to devour them. That monster is a beast of maximum rank. The old man trembles before the beast, believing they wouldn't be able to escape. He tells the girl to leave first. She seems concerned. Tian observes the complicated situation and decides to help. The woman advances on the monster and activates a secret technique that makes her even more beautiful. In a moment, the crocodile was split in two. This ability seems strong. The girl cuts through everything in her path. Although this should be expected, Yuling is an elite martial warrior. When using this power, the girl compares herself to a great warrior. The protagonist himself asserts that at that level, not even 10 of him could handle Yuling. Is she too much for Tian to handle? The old man is not in a good situation, as he has just lost his leg, yet he tells the girl to flee because her technique won't last long, and the item they are there for is more important. If she doesn't flee, she will have sacrificed several lives for nothing. The girl doesn't know what to do exactly. It is said that 10 people died submerged. What is the nature of this treasure to be worth sacrificing so much? Amidst the escape, Yuling's ability deactivates, causing fatigue to take over her body. Quickly she falls to the ground and her precious item is thrown away. On the ground, she is surprised by the silhouette of a mysterious man. Her nearsightedness affects her vision, so she cannot recognize who is before her. Our talent thief goes straight for the treasure first. The girl tells him not to touch it, but the talent thief tells her not to worry, he won't steal anything. Several crocodiles are right behind them, looking for a snack. Realizing they would have to leave, the protagonist picks up Yuling, saying he'll look for a cave for them to stay safe. Looking at the girl's face, we notice her resemblance to Tian's sister, except for the black mole on her face. The protagonist even tries to remove it but realizes it's real. Speaking like that makes it seem normal to have an artificial mole on the face. I've heard of facial harmonization and even hacks to improve appearance, but this is new. Sometime later, we follow the protagonist keeping an eye on the girl. When will she decide to wake up? It was just when he wondered this that she woke up from her sleep. A little more in mouth-to-mouth breathing would have been necessary, out of pure necessity, guys. Yuling recognizes her savior, but just to confirm the situation she asks if it was he who saved her. The protagonist is very modest, he just happened to be passing through and decided to help. The girl says it takes a lot of courage to go to the Lake of Death alone, and to think about marrying a man like that. Did I say marrying? I meant recruiting, bringing to the martial pavilion. She takes out a giant crystal from some unknown place. The light emitted by the object is very strong, it even bothers the boy's eyes. She explains the usefulness of that light stone, basically serving as a lamp. The protagonist asks where that came from, but before continuing the conversation, the girl needs to take a sip of yogurt. Thoughtful about the technique used to carry equipment like those, Tian wonders about the possibility of it being a spatial talent, but dismisses this theory because among her talents there was nothing like it. After finishing healing, she tells the boy to get up, but only if he wants to know how she carries those items. So, the girl shows a very small bag, but when she puts a much larger bronze chest in it, the object is sucked into the bag. Now the situation is clear, it's not about an ability, but rather a spatial artifact. The girl doesn't stand still and offers a proposal to our guy. If he becomes a member of the martial pavilion, he will have one of those bags for personal use. Our thief doesn't even pay attention and says he's going to sleep. Yuling even grinds her teeth, prophesying the day she will recruit him. Tian imagines that bag had no value for him, just copying a spatial talent would solve the problem. The next day, our man wakes up and realizes the girl is gone. Beside him was a red box. When he opens it, he sees a mid-rank training manual, 10 bottles with high-grade blood, and finally, a measly 10 gold cards worth 1 million each. Imagining if all this is for him, the only thing he can do is thank the girl for the gifts. In this case, there will be changes in his plans. Now with so much quality material, he will only look for the jellyfish after becoming an elite martial warrior. 4 months later, the talent thief is sitting with an energy ball in front of him. Suddenly, a manifestation of his evolution occurs. He has just reached the elite realm. Finally, it's time for the hunt. When he leaves the cave, he finds several tombs, which must be of Yuling's companions. With the amount of beasts, there must not be even the bones of the men left, yet she took the trouble to do that out of respect for their sacrifice. It's a very kind act. Looking to the side, the protagonist notices the presence of an umbrella, but it doesn't seem to be a common object because the old man who was with the girl was the owner of this item. Wondering if it still works, he picks it up from the ground and raises it. A moment later, a water bubble forms, blocking the passage of external things. With this, the protagonist will be able to enter the water without problems, so he wastes no time and dives in. The speed of movement also becomes apparent. With umbrella in hand, he seems to move faster. Using his shadow talent to become invisible, Tian notices the presence of an intermediate level creature. There seem to be several monsters around. It's good to be careful. The boy decides to dive even deeper. Suddenly he's attacked by a tentacle. Paying attention to the creature that struck him, he realizes it's an immortal jellyfish, precisely his target. Drawing his dagger, the protagonist quickly reacts and cuts off one of the monster's tentacles, but the creature regenerates instantly. The jellyfish counterattacks. The boy braces for the blow. This brief moment is enough to copy the talent. However, the damage received is considerable. The monster ends up breaking the umbrella by throwing some sort of acid, leaving him exposed to a whole swarm of jellyfish. Since he had already completed his objective, there was no need to stay any longer, so he decides to flee. Tian manages to reach the surface, but his enemies are persistent. Using his speed talent to the maximum, he manages to escape from that predicament. Relieved to be out of the area, Tian rests for a moment. Shortly after, the status window asks if the boy wishes to merge with the healing ability, and he promptly accepts. Yeah, this guy doesn't get any rest. As usual, upon absorbing a talent, he feels unimaginable pain, but since he has copied several talents already, his body is starting to get used to it. The absorption of power was even quick this time. Well, anyway, the protagonist wants to test his new power. Looking at his hand, he says the poison of the jellyfish is extremely deadly. A small amount can cause the death of an ordinary person. Upon activating the healing, Tian instantly neutralizes the poison. Immediately after, he starts punching the wall thousands of times. Saying that all his current powers are mostly for support, the boy is impressed that he doesn't even leave a trace of the wound. However, it won't be enough. If he wants to fight someone stronger, he'll have to copy attack talents. It's time to go back home. Inspecting some techniques, he looks for something strong. But he's moving too much while reading. His sister can't cut his hair properly. Our boy apologizes and continues his research. In the book, there are some techniques like that of the mighty ant, a low-ranking beast specialized in combat. When launching a collective attack, even great martial warriors feel difficulty. Tian liked this ability. The protagonist returns to the martial pavilion. The blonde greets him saying it's been a long time and asks what the boy needs. He wants a corpse of the mighty ant. The blonde thinks the boy is sick. Usually ants are used to invigorate health. Anyway, it's not possible to sell the body because there's none in the shop. However, there is some information she can provide. The Linhai base and a median base are building a trade route, but there are many beasts between the two. Precisely, a nest of mighty ants is inhabiting that region. Our talent thief questions if this median base wouldn't be the iron prey. Thinking a little about it, he concludes that they must be. After all, they are the only ones in that area. The girl confirms his theory. Furthermore, she continues, the two groups are separated by about 100 kilometers. As a member of the Mo family was recently killed, they don't rule out any possibilities. Everyone is a suspect. We know who killed our dear friend Mosho, but it's better to keep quiet. Tian proposes that perhaps the Mo family suspected a possible invasion by the iron prey. The girl says she heard about this suspicion. They even investigated to find out the truth behind everything, but in the end, the iron prey itself helped to clarify the situation, including this trade route was only possible because the Mo family helped. Tian becomes suspicious of the Mo family's objective. They must be planning something. Continuing, the girl pulls out a kind of card. Tian asks what it is. She explains that it's a symbol for participating in events. Initially it was meant for her miss, but since their base is much superior, there's no need to work with a mediocre group. Very humble. I like this blonde. The plan of the two bases to deal with the monsters is to send some martial warriors to clear the beasts on the way of the route. If he participates in this operation, it's possible to get his hands on an ant body. The protagonist thinks that the Lin family is the absolute government of the Lin High base. Even though it's the Mo family, they can't obtain so much influence there. So Tian says it's time to have some fun. In the midst of what appears to be a square, there are several warriors gathered all together to apply for the monster extermination group. With this amount of people, it's better to proceed with caution. Stepping onto the stage, a man welcomes everyone present for the beast removal. That's Lin Mingyi, the current head of the Lin family, and he's at the elite martial warrior level. It's not small. Then the face of an ugly old man appears, along with the face of a bald one. That was the reunion between the Mo family and the Lin family. Finally, we have a satisfying smirk from the protagonist. His face looks like those kids before they get into trouble. Mingyi starts giving a motivational speech. Everyone knows that the Lin base is not the biggest of all, resources are also limited, and that's why it's difficult to meet everyone's cultivation needs. So, collaborating with a medium-sized base will bring benefits to them. After all, dealing with monsters is dangerous work. However, he asserts that the reward attributed to the extermination group will be much more generous than any other hunt they have done before. After these beautiful words, everyone in the room starts shouting for the glory of the Lin family. Tian notices a man among the crowd, Captain Galewolf. If he was almost by his side. The boy wonders if the captain still remembers him. The leader continues with his speech, saying he can guarantee anything they acquired during the operation will be completely theirs. The rewards aren't over yet. Everyone in the martial warrior realm will receive 20 bottles of medium-level blood and 2 million coins, and those who are elite martial warriors will receive 3 bottles of high-ranking blood and 10 million coins. Now everyone can register. People seem excited about it. A line forms in front of a rock. You have to place your hand on that stone to have your strength evaluated. For example, the first one to place his hand is a medium-ranking apprentice, and so on. The classification of each one follows. In the middle of the line, we have the protagonist. He says Yu Ling was right. There's no need to work for powerful families, especially the Mo family. If they find out that Tian is an elite warrior, it will cause several unnecessary problems. That tool is based on power detection. Consequently, if you exert less force, a lower class should appear. When the boy's turn comes, he tries hard to control himself. The stone identifies him as an advanced martial warrior. That's all the boy wanted. The bald guy from the Mo family seems intrigued. And not just him, everyone wonders how someone so young reached such a high class. Maybe he was a genius from a powerful family. Tian says he only showed a little of his strength, yet he attracted so much attention, so he should have tried harder to demonstrate even less power. Captain Galewolf says that true geniuses are always discovered young. Look at how old he is, and remains at the advanced warrior rank. The rest of the group are still average-ranking warriors. One member suggests recruiting Tian, but the leader says it's not possible. He's an advanced martial warrior. Faced with several proposals, why choose a group like theirs? The member speaks again, saying that apparently, the boy is heading towards the team. The boy decides to show his face. It's been a long time since their last encounter. The captain is impressed. The boy who saved the little girl from the wolf was in front of him. And to think he could become an advanced martial warrior in just 1 year. The protagonist tries to be modest and says it's just luck, then asks if he could be allowed to join the group during the operation. The leader may be full of muscles, but fortunately, he also has a brain, and accepts immediately. From now on, Tian will be under the care of the muscular one. The group's archer comments that it's much easier with 2 advanced level people on the team. Our boy is part of the elite. Shortly after, they are already wandering through the mission area. The map indicates there are low-level monsters in that location, but to ensure everyone's safety, it's ideal to proceed with great care. Tian locates some enemies approaching the group at a high speed and notifies the captain. The order is for everyone to stay calm. Those are just snacks. The leader will take care of the front line while the protagonist protects the rear. The rest should assist when needed. Drawing his sword, Tian shows himself eager to battle. The fight begins, then the boy advances on the wolves with the muscular one. The first wolf is easily defeated, but the second one comes hungry. Look at the animal's wide open mouth. It takes a kick to the stomach, then it's finished off. It seems to have been a difficult task for our boy to defeat those enemies. I can't even imagine the effort. How long did that battle last? 20 seconds? The leader congratulates Tian for eliminating them all so easily, but it's a pity because even though he did his part, he still fell behind. After all, he killed 3 wolves. My goodness, it's truly an abysmal difference. The girl starts speaking, saying she loved seeing the protagonist in action, every second she likes him more.
Even the bald guy from the team recognizes the boy's capability. The captain shouldn't be so convinced.
Poor man, he just wanted to show off a bit, but they had to embarrass him. Anyway, the wolves shouldn't have attacked them at that moment. It goes against their nature. Maybe they were fleeing from larger beasts. After all, that wasn't their territory. A group member starts to worry, but the bald guy tells them to relax. The group consists of intermediate and advanced warriors. There's no reason to be afraid. To give everyone more confidence, the muscular one shows his Lin family walkie-talkie. All captains receive one so they can call for help when in danger. For that reason, everyone can give their best without worrying. Then they decide to continue until they encounter a giant monster. The creature in front of them is called a flame-throwing lizard. Without any warning, the monster throws a fireball towards the whole team. Everyone dodges easily. Since the protagonist and the muscular one did all the work before, it was time for the others to contribute too. That monster has a low rank, but they should be careful with its flames. Sometime later, we see the monster taking a nap. The captain congratulates the team for their good performance. It seems they came out victorious, but not unscathed. A guy was about to start boasting, saying finishing off that beast was too easy. But some wouldn't be a problem. After saying that, a huge fireball would hit him from behind, and it would surely send him to the cemetery if Tian didn't use his speed ability to save the man. There would be no escape for sure. It seems it's not over yet. Several lizards appear. They're probably seeking revenge for their lost companion. The captain uses his walkie-talkie to report the situation and ask for help, but it simply doesn't work. All the teams ignore his request. Unfortunately, our friend expected too much from the Lin family. They didn't really care about anyone. This time, the muscular one thought he was doing the right thing by taking his team on that beast hunt. However, all families are the same, a bunch of rotten organizations with no compassion. The leader decides he will be left behind while he buys time for them to escape. But the bald guy says he won't run away. He'll only leave that place if everyone is together. The muscular one still prioritizes the lives of his subordinates, telling them to go away. Only one member obeys, the newbie, and even goes as far as to say that the others are too slow. He's gained a new enemy. If the bald guy survives, he'll go after him for a tea party. The only problem is to come out alive from such a bad condition. Gale Wolf says that the protagonist is very talented. It would be very sad if he died in that place, so it's better to leave. The captain asks Tian to take his comrades as well, if possible. Everyone agrees with the boy's escape. In the end, he was just a newcomer to the group, and there's no need to throw away a bright future. Tian agrees to the terms. He'll run, but towards the monsters. The first to notice that something was wrong was the leader, followed by the rest of the team. Is that the aura of an elite martial artist? An exciting twist, my friends. Now it's just about making lizard stew. Tian didn't want to show his true power, but at that point, it didn't even matter. If he ignored the situation, the entire Storm Wolf team would be eliminated. At first, the most logical thing for the captain was to use his combat ability to escape alone. It wouldn't be a very difficult task. However, it was the opposite. Being the strongest, he decided to stay so that his comrades could escape. So the boy concluded by saying that if he hid his true power only for his own benefit, he couldn't be considered human, and there would be no difference from the trash of the Mo family. As for having trouble for revealing his strength, well, it's not the time to think about it, but the boy believes that the muscular one won't cause any trouble. While thinking about all this, he destroys everything around him. People are impressed with the power of an elite martial artist, and the protagonist continues in the frenetic battle, destroying abandoned buildings to throw at the monsters, a true strategist. Amidst the smoke, the boy emerges in front of the beasts, and quickly uses his shadow strike that cuts the creatures down in a single blow. Looking at that, all the muscular one can think is that without a doubt, Tian is among the best of the Lin High base. Remember the coward? The newbie who fled at the first sign of danger? Well, he doesn't seem to have gotten very far. Surrounded by a bunch of wolves, the man pleads for help. The bald guy even warns the leader about the situation of his former comrade, but the muscular one says to just ignore it. After all, he decided to abandon them and flee alone. The protagonist decides to continue with the extermination, and asks the team if they want to follow him or stop there. He seems excited to continue. The others are surprised by the proposal, but the leader says that since they all entered together, they will leave the place together as well. In short, everyone will accompany the protagonist, and he seems happy with that. Sometime later, we see the archer treating the bald guy's wound, while Tian informs that he will separate from them to try something. The muscular one questions if the boy really wishes to continue. The protagonist says they can go back first because there's still a lot of talent to steal in that area. Apparently, the boy intends to handle things alone from that moment on, and the leader worries about it, but Tian advises not to be so concerned. So there's nothing to be done. If they decide to follow the boy, they'll end up hindering, so the group believes it's time to say goodbye. After all, with his strength, not even a 32-legged, 7-headed Tyrannosaurus Rex would be able to defeat him. Tian goes on solitary, like a one-man army, determined to get stronger to face powerful families when the time comes. And before getting into trouble, it would be great to test how strong his healing talent really is. Suddenly, we're in a somewhat chaotic and smelly scenario. According to the protagonist, wondering if they've already reached the beast's nest, he feels something coming from below and jumps. A giant hand attacks him several times. It seems to be a beetle, or maybe a rhinoceros, definitely a pony. Faced with such a monster, it's the perfect opportunity to test his healing power. The pony belches a fire missile at Tian. The attack causes a huge explosion. The impact is big enough for his comrades to notice the battle even from afar. As expected from the Lizard King, the protagonist is extremely happy with the opponent's satisfactory level. How about fighting to the fullest and fair? Let's see if the king burns Tian to a crisp or if the boy will win by wearing out the pony before that happens. Using his speed ability, he heads towards the enemy's head, which reacts using its fire talent. An hour later, the battle continues, and the protagonist's companions even question the possibility of him still being alive. In a chaotic battle like that, it's expected that Tian would be dead. However, he seems very well and says that now he's in a condition to win this game. The healing talent is amazing, but unfortunately, it consumes a lot of physical energy. Since the Lizard King is an intermediate rank beast, it's possible to use its blood to recover energy. Knowing this, the protagonist wastes no time. Noticing the end of the battle, Gale Wolf's team wonders what the situation would be. The bald guy notices someone approaching. A moment later, it's revealed to be Tian. The man has returned and stronger than before. Upon arriving at the scene, the first thing to do is ask why the captain was still in the area. After all, the boy told them to go back first. The leader explains that, even though he was unable to help, everyone was worried about Tian. His clothes were completely burned, but fortunately, there were some spares with the girl from the team, so our boy could use them. The young man thanks them. The bald guy asks what they're going to do with so many beast bodies. The captain gives full credit to the protagonist and tells him to decide. Basically, Tian gives all the loot to the group, and since the whole team was still in an area full of beasts, it would be very dangerous to carry the bodies of small monsters, so the boy advises dealing with the Lizard King first. The captain doesn't quite understand and asks if the boy will help them carry the beast bodies back, but he says no and turns in the other direction. Gale Wolf asks where Tian is going, and calmly, the young man replies that he's going to the area of powerful ants. After hearing this, the leader almost freezes. After all, from what he heard, the most difficult part of this extermination job would be to eliminate the ant colony full of powerful ants, because even though they are low-level monsters, inside the anthill, they will be scattered everywhere. It would be difficult to fight alone and win even for a great warrior. A dangerous task like this requires a lot of care. Our boy runs to the place where the ant attack was being organized. There were the strongest groups of that hunt. Both the Mo family and the Lin family are present. But there's a mysterious old man on the scene, as it's unknown to which organization he belongs. That gentleman notices our boy, and immediately a group goes to capture Tian. The boy begins to feel uncomfortable with the situation he just got into. However, it was necessary to infiltrate the front forces. Facing the protagonist, the old man perceives his level in an instant and soon asks what his identity is and why he was spying on them from afar. The boy says he's a martial warrior from Lin High Base and heard that a big mission would take place there, so he decided to come help. He's released, but the old man asks which group of warriors the boy belongs to. No one recognizes him as a member, even though he's such a young elite warrior, except the head of the Lin family. The man says he knows the protagonist. They studied together in kindergarten and even took the same knitting class with his late grandma, may God rest her soul. Tian says he was admitted by the family head only because he's an elite warrior. That was expected. In terms of recognizing talent, the Lins are first. The man is thrilled with his new acquisition. Who would have thought, someone with such a high level without belonging to any group? It seems someone is watching our boy from afar. The people keeping an eye on Tian are old friends of his. Yuling gets furious. How dare the Lin family try to steal her fiancé? The blonde agrees. How dare they try to take their fiancé? Yu concludes by saying that the protagonist belongs to the martial pavilion. That's the famous possessive girlfriend type. Unfortunately, you'll have to follow the next chapters of this soap opera in another video, so if you liked the video, subscribe to the channel and comment what you thought. Until next time, guys.